Hello, and welcome back to my blog, Tea Leaves by Francis S. Drake, Part 10. The journals of Monday announced that the Dartmouth had anchored off Long Wharf, and that other ships with the poisonous herb might soon be here. They also contained a call for a public meeting, as announced in the following handbill, already printed and distributed throughout the town. Friends, brethren, countrymen, that worst of plagues, the detested tea shipped for this port by the East India Company, is now arrived in this harbor. The hour of destruction or manly opposition to the machinations of tyranny stares you in the face. Every friend to his country, to himself, and posterity is now called upon to meet at Faneuil Hall at 9 o'clock this day, at which time the bells will ring, to make a united and successful resistance to this last, worst, and most destructive measure of administration. Boston, November 29, 1773. At 9 o'clock the bells were rung, and the people, to the number of at least 5,000, thronged in and around Faneuil Hall. This edifice, then about half as large as now, was entirely inadequate to hold the concourse that had gathered there. Jonathan Williams, a citizen of character and wealth, was chosen moderator. The select men were John Scollay, John Hancock, Timothy Newell, Thomas Newhall, Samuel Austin, Oliver Wendell, and John Pitts. The patriotic and efficient town clerk, William Cooper, was also present. Samuel Adams, Dr. Warren, Hancock, Dr. Young, and Molyneux took the lead in the debate. The resolution offered by Adams, that the tea should not be landed, that it should be sent back in the same bottom to the place whence it came at all events, and that no duty should be paid on it, was unanimously adopted. On hearing of this vote, the consignees withdrew to Castle William. For the better accommodation of the people, the meeting then adjourned to the Old South Meeting House. The speeches made at the Old South have not been preserved. Some were violent, others were calm, advising the people by all means to abstain from violence, but the men in whom they placed confidence were unanimous upon the question of sending back the tea. Dr. Young held that the only way to get rid of it was to throw it overboard. Here we find the first suggestion of its ultimate fate. Both Whigs and Tories united in the action of the meeting. To give the consignees time to make the expected proposals, the meeting adjourned till 3 o'clock. Of this assembly, Hutchinson says, although it consisted principally of the lower ranks of the people, and even journeymen tradesmen were brought to increase the number, and the rabble were not excluded, yet there were divers gentlemen of good fortune among them. With regard to the speeches, he observes, nothing can be more inflammatory than those made on this occasion. Adams was never in greater glory. And of the consignees, he says, they apprehended they should be seized and may be tarred and feathered and carted, an American torture, in order to compel them to a compliance. The friends of old Mr. Clark, whose constitution being hurt by the repeated attacks made upon him, retired into the country, pressed his sons and the other consignees to a full compliance. A visitor from Rhode Island who attended the meeting, speaking of its regular and sensible conduct, said he should have thought himself rather in the British Senate than in the promiscuous assembly of the people of a remote colony. At the afternoon meeting in the Old South, it was resolved, upon the motion of Samuel Adams, that the tea in Captain Hall's ship must go back in the same bottom. The owner and the captain were informed that the entry of the tea or the landing of it would be at their peril. The ship was ordered to be moored at Griffin's Wharf, and a watch of 25 men was appointed for the security of vessel and cargo, with Captain Edward Proctor as captain that night. It was also voted that the governor's call on the justices to meet that afternoon to suppress attempted riots was a reflection on the people. Upon Hancock's representation that the consignees desired further time to meet and consult, the meeting consented out of great tenderness to them, and adjourned until next day. This meeting also voted that 6 persons who are used to horses be in readiness to give an alarm in the country towns when necessary. They were William Rogers, Jeremiah Belknap, Stephen Hall, Nathaniel Cobbett, and Thomas Gooding, and Benjamin Wood of Charlestown. The guard for the tea ships, which consisted of from 24 to 34 men, was kept up until December 16. It was armed with muskets and bayonets and proceeded with military regularity. Indeed, it was composed in part of the military of the town, and every half hour during the night regularly passed the word, "All's well," like sentinels in a garrison. It was on duty 19 days and 23 hours. If molested by day, the bells of the town were to be rung. If at night, they were to be tolled. We have the names of those comprising the watch on November 29 and 30. They are, for November 29, Captain Edward Proctor, Henry Bass, Paul Revere, Foster Condy, Moses Grant, John Lovell, Joseph Lovering, John Winthrop, Dr. Elisha Story, John Greenleaf, Thomas Chase, Benjamin Alley, Benjamin Eddies, Joshua Pico, Joseph Pierce Jr., James Henderson, Captain Riordan, Josiah Wheeler, John Crane, Joseph Edwards, John McFadden, Jonathan Stoddard, Thomas Knox Jr., Stephen Bruce, Robert Hitchborn. November 30, Captain Ezekiel Cheever, Thomas Uren, Joseph Ears, William Dickman, William Sutton, Samuel Peck, Ebenezer Ayers, Thomas Bawley, William Elberson, John Rice, Benjamin Stevens, Joseph Froud, James Brewer, Obadiah Curtis, Rufus Bant, George Ray, William Clapp, Benjamin Ingerson, Nicholas Pierce, Adam Colson, Thomas Tileston, Daniel Hughes, Richard Honeywell. Quote, "May our land be a land of liberty, the seat of virtue, the asylum of the oppressed, a name, a praise in the whole earth." End quote. Joseph Warren, March 5, 1772. That's where we'll stop for today. I think things are about to get exciting. Make it a great day, and bye for now.